Well, glad to have you back. Let's move to our next topic of discourse. And the Director General of Franco-Nigeria Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Moses Umoru, is live in the studio to continue this conversation around the GDP figures that have just been released by government and what it means. Maybe let's start with the impact on businesses. Thank you so much, Mr. Umoru. It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I think let's start with an overview of what's been happening around the economy. You know, you do a lot with foreign business men and all of that. How has the environment been following all the policies instituted by government?
Yeah, at the moment, if you look at the policies of government in terms of the effect on businesses,
yes,
I would say it has been a bit harsh, but not unexpected. For example, the removal of fuel subsidy, the unification of exchange rate has actually affected business cost in terms of operational costs from energy side of things, also to other angle to the cost of businesses. But beyond that, I think the business environment is showing some confidence in terms of policies from the fiscal side of things. The Taiwo Ojele's committee, for example, has said that has identified 60 taxes and levies, and they are trying to shrink it up to down to 10. And of course, that if that comes into being, there is a confidence from there that yes, that there is going to be a leeway as far as businesses are concerned. Apart from that, if you look at what government has instituted in terms of the single window for import and export that was just of late. And these policies are things that, you know, of course, it looks like the same thing with the Wholesale Dutch auction system, retail Dutch auction system for FX earnings and the rest of them.
Yes.
But it looks like something that, you know, pushes confidence as far as the business environment is concerned. So irrespective of the challenges they're experiencing, they're staying back and like, yes, let's see how it's going to be. Let's see how long it's going to last. And we believe that it's going to come down as time goes on.
But now we are seeing this GDP growing at 3.19% in
Yes.
Q2 of 2024.
Yes.
And this has, of course, generated mixed reactions. I don't know what your position will be around this.
I have two perspectives as far as this is concerned. Okay. The first one is the fact that, of course, the GDP has grown by 3.19% currently, Q2 2024, from 2.51% same time last year,
yes,
and of course from 2.98% just the first quarter in 2024. What this has shown is that there is resilience in the Nigerian economy, like what the previous speaker has just said. There's resilience and there is room for confidence. Now, when businesses see that there is hope or there is light at the end of the tunnel, there is a possibility that, yes, okay, let's wait and let's go to our reserves to ensure that we continue production, to ensure that things are going on. That's one side of things. Because, of course, if you look at the removal of fuel subsidy and its attendant effect on businesses, it has been very, very harsh. But if you look at the World Bank, for example, the World Bank predicted, even their review prediction at January 2024, it stipulated that the Nigerian economy is going to grow by 3.3%. Right? So I think Nigerian economy is going in line with World Bank prediction because they believe that if the government implements these policies, it's going to help the economy in the long run. So we believe that these things are going to help the economy. That's one side of things. The other side of things is if you look at the contribution of various sectors to the GDP, the oil sector, for example, is contributing 5.70% to overall GDP at the moment. The non-oil sector is contributing 93.70% to the overall GDP. What it means is that the Nigerian economy is well diversified from the product side of things, not from the revenue side of things. So what this does for policymakers is that it opens their eyes to see the possibility in the Nigerian business environment. I'm going to pick agricultural GDP. Of course, there was a little bit of a decline. Yeah. But if you look at agricultural GDP contribution to the overall GDP, it stood at 18.5%. Now, oil sector contributing 5.75%. Now, oil sector contributes close to 80% of government revenue. Agriculture contribution to overall GDP, 18.5%. Contributing less than 3% to revenue in terms of FX earnings in Nigeria. So if Nigeria begins to consider value creation from agricultural produce, discover that there is a possibility that there can be a balance at the end of the day when these things are looked at. So the government needs to begin to consider the possibility of ensuring that the business environment is put into place. Power is very, very fundamental. We cannot continue to stress that enough.
Yes.
Let manufacturing go on. If, for example, you look at the agricultural GDP, right, 80% of agricultural GDP is is crop production. Take that crop production to manufacturing. That should automatically increase manufacturing GDP. But that is not happening. Why? Because the cost of manufacturing from alternative power sources, because of the removal of fuel subsidy, is affecting that aspect. So if this issue can be dealt with, and how can we deal with this issue? The possibility of ensuring that the PH refinery comes upstream. And of course, there is supply to the Dangote refinery also at Naira cost. Let's state that very well, at Naira cost. If this goes in at
Naira, crude is in the international market. Now it's traded in dollars. So I'm looking at how we put the two and two together. What rate? Anyway, go ahead.
No, definitely. If Nigeria is supplying their own refineries,
yeah, I think that's
it doesn't go through OPEC pricing and the rest of them. So it goes directly from the refinery straight to PH, straight to Dangote refinery at Naira cost. What that now does is reduce energy costs. From the pump prices, it reduces that. It helps manufacturing to produce, if there is no alternative power from the grid and all of that, produce at lower cost, and then it goes down to the final consumers in terms of the price of products and services. Another aspect of it is this. One side of things is this. There has to be, if you look at the monetary side of things, and the fiscal side of things, there is a dissonance between monetary policy and fiscal policy in Nigeria. Now, I'm going to give an example. Sometime last year, monetary policy rate was around 18%. As of today, it's 26.75%. Now, the central government has continued to ensure that they chase inflation by increasing interest rates. Now, if the government is chasing inflation by increasing interest rates, the fiscal side of things should understand that the government is trying to achieve something, so they have to also align. Now, if you look at the fiscal side of things, the customs has increased excise duties over 6 times since January. Now, the central bank from the monetary policy side, controlling inflation, is increasing interest rates. The fiscal policy side is increasing excise duties. Now, the reason why you are increasing interest rates is to fight inflation. Now, the reason for increasing excise duties will cause inflation because at the end of the day, the incidence of taxation is the final consumer at the end of the day. So how do you now deal with that when the monetary side is fighting something and then the fiscal side is not even ensuring that that thing even helps at the end of the day? So there is a dissonance. I think the monetary policy authorities and the fiscal authorities need to come together into the room and align on a single strategy that goes the same way. I think we can be able to do something from that as far as the economy is concerned.
That sounds really good. I was talking about the sectors that are now contributed to this growth: financial, insurance. They did around 6.5% of Nigeria's GDP, but continues to be a major driver of economic growth. What's happening in all of these sectors?
I'm sure you've heard about the windfall tax already.
Yeah. I discussed that yesterday. I had this running. We had a long time on that.
The financial sector, of course, it's the financial sector is currently booming because of the revaluation from the devaluation of the naira to the dollars and all of that. So they had dollars before. They had dollars at 500 naira. As at now, that same dollars they have in the financial sector is 1,500 naira, 1,600 as the case may be. So the differential is what is giving the financial service sector more earnings as far as that is concerned. And then the government is also interested in taxing that by 50%. That's exactly what we're talking about today. But the idea is, the reason why we are seeing a lot of traction from there is from that revaluation area. And how sustainable is that? It's not sustainable. It's just something you have once in a while, and after some time, it goes back to normal.
But like you also said, the IMF, World Bank, and all are already saying that these policies must be followed to the latter.
Yes.
If we are to get the expected outcomes and all of that, so that means government must stay. And that brings me to the issue of how government can manage the fallout. Which is what they've been trying to do.
Yes.
You deal so very much with the private sector guys. What do you think? What are the feelers? What are you getting? What do you think can be done better? I'm thinking of things that would trickle down to the people.
Yes. My personal opinion regarding this is this. For every economic policy, for every economic theory, there has to be underlying assumptions.
True.
And the fact that I think right now the problem we're having is that I do not know, but I know that we have a lot of eggheads in the CBN and eggheads as far as policy is concerned in Nigeria, so I'm not going to question anybody. But I feel that it's important that scenario analysis is done before enacting any policy in Nigeria. And I think the problem we've had so far is that we have not looked at the underlying assumption that will ensure that this thing works. Let me give a case in point.
Okay.
The removal of fuel subsidy can only work if grid power is stable, right? Because right now you're going to have a short in energy costs because Nigerians depend a lot on fuel for their generators, for their diesels and the rest of them. So this, if you want to put it as a scenario analysis, for example, it becomes a very, very big problem. And at the same time, without waiting too long, you now unified the exchange rate. These are fantastic policy, but at the same time, the timing in terms of the implementation has been the problem. So businesses are taking a very, very big hit at the moment. So they are trying, like I mentioned, because I speak to a lot of the CEOs, they're entering their reserves. They're entering their reserves because they believe that after some time it's going to fizzle out and it's going to pick up. So right now they're entering their reserves, profit from past years. Let's use that and continue production. That's why you see the growth in the Nigerian economy, because they believe in the Nigerian project. The World Bank has predicted already. The IMF has predicted already. So there is light at the end of this tunnel. But right now, it is biting very, very hard.
It is. It is. We're not talking about insecurity there. That's also another thing. Multiple taxation there. You've talked about power, corruption. All of this is what IMF is saying must also be addressed before we move on. So what more? Talking about trade facilitation or business dealings among government and all of that, there should be a particular conversation between government and the private sector. We've talked about this many times, partnerships and all of that. Are you also seeing all of that playing out with the move by this administration, talking about the handshake with the private sector guys to come and run most of this? Just like the refineries you mentioned, many say government might not be able to run some of this.
Absolutely. Like I said, government has no business doing business. It's important that
I hear that a lot.
Every economy should be private sector driven. That is the fundamentals of a free economy. It's driven by private sector, and of course the forces of demand and supply. Right? If you look at from the power side of things, of course there is a partial privatization in the power sector, but the transmission is still not privatized; it's still owned by the government. The NMPC, of course, from the PIA, we understand that it is now. Yes, it's the
limited liability
company. But at the same time, we still have a lot of influence from the government. You know, we had the announcement talking about the indirect subsidy that is being paid. You know, when there is a landing cost, the government will ask you to
sell at this
particular rate, and then you're not giving room for a free economy. And how do we grow from there? So it's not possible. So government should allow private sector to drive these things, and of course it's more efficient that way to get these things done.
Because it's really worrisome. But let's now go back to state governments, and I also talked about palliatives. Though I really don't know what is that word palliatives, but how government is managing the fallout now on the masses. We've seen distribution of food in some cases. We've seen government also trying to address the price of food by cutting taxes, excise duties on some particular kind of foods. Some say this is also a welcome development. I don't know how that comes to you.
From the state government side of things, I think
because the states are getting more money now from FAC.
If you look at what the states are getting every month from FAC, of course it has increased.
Yes, it has.
And one thing that has happened over time, I think there is an analysis around this. I think it was one of these organizations that carried it out. Discovered that every time the allocation is paid to states, there is always a drop in naira value because there is always high demand for dollars. So what is happening is that most of these states are even increasing their dollar reserves as against using this fund for developmental projects. These are conspiracy theories, but these are things that we hear out there. We hear out there.
Yet to be confirmed.
But by the same time, it is time for the states to look at the residual list and look at their responsibilities in generating income, sustainable income from the state, right? Of course, there is a power master plan now that allows states to generate independent powers. So it's time for them to begin to invest in it. Abia State, for example, is a case in point. Other states need to key into that system to start, getting it. Of course, we have the mini grid, the mini grid regulation, for example, that's just opened up and allowed, for example, now people can have mini grid from it was 1 megawatt before. Right now it can go as far as 5 megawatts, and it can open investment in states. So you can have independent power projects in different areas of different states. So the state governors should look at that, because trust me, the Nigerian economy can go on autopilot if the necessary conditions are met. What conditions? And these conditions are the infrastructure, power and access roads, and fundamentally security. So if these three issues are dealt with, so government should focus on these three aspects and allow private sector run the rest, both at the state level and at the federal level.
You've talked about confidence, looking at members of even the chambers and all of that. Well, let's do an outlook now for Nigeria's economy. We see inflation a bit down, just like my other guest said. It said it's just the baseline. Well, at least we've seen a decline. That is what we've seen, and we're staying with it. NBS, it's their job to give us the figures. We will analyze the figures. We see that dropping. We also see GDP now, on the right side. So if we continue at this pace, what do you think would likely be the outlook for Nigeria's economy, say before we wrap up 2024?
I think
I'm moving to 2025, of course.
I think fundamentally, I'm going to just point out some things. Port Harcourt refinery coming up to stream.
That's one.
Hopefully, Dangote refinery producing and getting it at Naira cost as promised by the president already. Bringing down energy costs from that other side. The fiscal authorities being led by fiscal side of things, being led by Tayo Wedele, for example, coming up with his own plans to reduce multiple taxation from 60 taxes and levies down to 10, shows confidence in that side of things. So the business community is saying there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel here, because we're going to save a lot of money from there and use it to expand our productive capacities as businesses and all of that. So if this comes into being, I believe that a lot of things are going to happen before the end of the year. So these figures we are seeing, the reduction in a bit of interest rates, the increase in GDP, for example, is just a sign that yes, there is something better coming up ahead of us. So I'm very, very confident.
Let's say it is, and for the business people, you're also hopeful that they will come, more of them will come in. That confidence is still in them.
Definitely more of them will come in. From the French investment area, for example, over 100 companies in Nigeria today, French companies in Nigeria are still here. We've had a lot of companies leave Nigeria, but none of them from the French side of things.
Wow.
Yeah, it's always Excellence France, for example. AFD, for example, celebrated their 15th anniversary in Nigeria here. And they stipulated that they are funding projects over 4.1 billion euros already in Nigeria. So in line with SDG goals and all of that, transportation, mobility, water, alternative energy and all of that, they're funding that in Nigeria. So I think there is confidence in the Nigerian business environment from the French side of things. It's not easy. I'm not going to come and water things down and tell you that it is easy. I get a lot of complaints. They are talking about it. It's not easy, but the confidence is there. And I think this policy has been enacted by the government who believe that if it is done to the latter, because there is one thing about having these things on the book, another thing is implementing the policies you have on the book. So these policies we have seen on the book, if they are implemented to the latter, we believe that things are going to get better before the end of the year.
Mr. Moses Umoru Ramos, thank you so much for your time. He's the Director General of Franco-Nigeria Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you for being on the program today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right then. Well, we're talking market. Mr. Tajulanka is standing by, but let's take a breather. And when we come back, we'll be talking to